News hit the other day that Logan Paul won his lawsuit. He even made a video dedicated to addressing it.
The CryptoZoo class action lawsuit against me got officially dismissed, which is a pretty big deal.
Not so fast, my friend. It looks like the plaintiffs were able to file a second amended class action complaint. So let's discuss the details in today's video. The most important sentence, paragraph 4, defendants Paul, Greenbaum, and Ibanez all profited from the scheme. I hope you didn't miss my video covering the motion to dismiss that was granted for Mr. Logan Paul. In that, he's claiming that the other two guys, his co-founders, were the fraudsters. Apparently, he didn't make any money on this scam, but we're finding out today that he might have made more than $1 million. In the CryptoZoo white paper, Logan represented that the largest wallets were locked and that all founder-held tokens would be restricted for 6 months to prevent insider sales. That, to me, is the most ethical thing. That way, it prevents pump and dumps. I actually had to look this up. Apparently, with public companies, I think there's a lockout period, is what they call it, an IPO lockout period, where most companies, it's not necessarily illegal to do it, but most companies withhold your ability to sell shares if you're a founder, because it doesn't exactly look good. It doesn't scream confidence in your company if the founders finally go public and they dump all their shares. CryptoZoo goes public August 18th, 2021. The price skyrocketed to a $600 million market cap. Those market caps were insane at that time. Crypto and NFTs, meme coins, all these BS little projects. It was an absolutely wild period where everyone was piling in to buy these things because they thought they were going to get rich. Defendants Greenbaum and Ibanez did get rich, though, because they began unloading their tokens on the open market, extracting millions of dollars in profit. Unfortunately, today, I will not be able to give you an exact amount for how much they made. I don't know if we actually know that number. I'm really curious to know how many millions of dollars they made. Someone made money, because if you have all these people who lost money, the crypto and NFT trading, the Zoo token trading market is a peer-to-peer place. So if you have millions of dollars lost, that had to be millions of dollars made for someone. Shared in the complaint is a link to a private CryptoZoo AMA community. I think this is on Telegram. Logan Paul will join in just a minute, but here's a clip.
We've really come a long way. The team has been hard at work. Right now, we currently have about 20 to 26 developers working around the clock to get CryptoZoo up and running.
I used to work in software development. We were a company that eventually went public, billion-dollar valuation, I think like $4 billion valuation. We might have had 20 to 26 developers for a software tech company. How in the world did they have for an NFT project 20 to 26 developers? I'm not believing it. I don't know where they came up with that number, but I want you, after the end of this video, to think back. Did this project have 20 developers? I don't know. Might have been another lie. One of the more enjoyable aspects of reading a complaint is coming right here. Defendant Greenbaum began selling his Zoo tokens after the August 18th launch. Paul became furious. I don't know if they have text messages showing this, how they knew that Logan Paul was furious, but this part is really interesting. Paul's anger was not over any violation of his rules, but over the fact that Greenbaum had managed to profit first, while Paul himself had not yet realized his gains. I think what's missing is maybe Logan Paul wanted to do a wrestling move on Greenbaum. He wanted to do a suplex, jump off the top rope onto Greenbaum. That would add a little bit more storytelling to this. That if I was a lawyer, I'd probably add that in just to make this more fun. But in retaliation, Paul orchestrated a full conversion of the Zoo token. Remember, he's very angry at Greenbaum, the smart contract, to a nearly identical coin called Zoo Token version 2. So this effectively locked Greenbaum out. This guy's now the bad guy. Remember, the whole story Logan's saying is that Greenbaum and Ibanez are the bad guys here. They're the fraudsters. So it locks him out of the project and froze his remaining holdings. Paul describes Greenbaum, this maneuver, it was getting rid of a surgical removal of a snake from the grass. Now, I'm highlighting these words specifically. We're going to get back to this in a minute. So keep in mind that Paul hated Greenbaum at this point. He's very angry, wanted to do wrestling moves on him. It was a surgical removal of a snake from the grass. Greenbaum's the bad guy here. Keep that in mind. If you're like me, shaving has probably always been one of those annoying parts of life. The tiny razor bumps, the random cuts, the irritation. Most of us have just accepted that it comes with shaving. For years, I tried working around it, different cartridges, different shaving cream, or just not shaving at all, which did not look good on me. But a few months ago, I finally switched things up. I partnered with a company called Henson Shaving, and instead of using the usual cartridge razor, I started using a safety razor for the first time. Now, if you've never used a safety razor, it kind of looks like the same tool, but the way it works is completely different. Henson's razor is engineered so the blade barely sticks out, just enough to cut hair, but not enough to dig into your skin. That tiny detail makes a huge difference. It keeps the blade stable, reduces tugging, and basically eliminates the need to press down, which is what causes most of the irritation and bumps in the first place. I've been shaving with the Henson AL13, and I'm going to tell you that the difference is really obvious. Way fewer bumps, way less irritation, and none of that post-shave discomfort that I just assume is normal. With this little tool right here, it genuinely feels like I solved a problem that I thought was permanent. And if you're even a little intimidated by switching over to a safety razor, don't worry, I was too. But there are a ton of tutorials on YouTube. Henson has some great ones ones themselves, and they even break down how much cheaper it is long-term compared to buying cartridges. So if shaving has always been a small but regular frustration for you, this might be the fix you didn't know existed. My link is down below in the description if you want to try it out yourself.
Because we're finishing up the development, but I am so excited about this project. It's so fun. It provides a yield with a token, can earn you money, and
Ding, ding, ding. That last part was mentioned in this complaint. Now, I don't know if this is like a strong argument as this is now a security. I think they're trying to argue that. I don't know what's going to happen with that specific claim. Does not look good. This is one of those didn't age well comments that you can earn money from this project. Meanwhile, we find out that Logan, we haven't figured that out, it's coming in a minute, but Logan and the others profited millions of dollars while claiming that the consumers were going to be the ones making money. After locking Greenbaum out, Paul immediately began extracting value from the project for his own personal gain. This is how maybe they knew that he was furious and angry, because Greenbaum had beat him at his own game. He was the one who was able to profit first. So September 3rd comes around. This is now a couple weeks later. CryptoZoo began selling egg NFTs to the public. So first it was the token, CryptoZoo token. Now it's egg NFTs. Generated approximately $2.6 million in revenue. September 5th, 2021, so just a couple days later, this is the important part. Read it with me. Paul paid himself approximately $944,000 from CryptoZoo's accounts. A day later, September 6th, Paul paid himself approximately $364,000 from CryptoZoo's accounts. If you have a calculator, do the math for me, please. Is that like $1.2, $1.3 million? What I find really interesting about this part is Logan the whole time is saying that he wasn't the one profiting. Now we're finding out that he might have made $1.2, $1.3 million. So text messages exchanged long after the scheme's exposure confirmed Paul's awareness and intent as he sought to rationalize and spin his conduct rather than accept responsibility. We'll get to those messages in just a second, but this changes the whole narrative, doesn't it?
It's fun. I like doing it. We put hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. Personally, the whole team, $1 million plus.
That was a little difficult to interpret. I think what he's saying is a few $100,000 out of his pocket and maybe $1 million collectively. I think the reason why we were able to figure out that Logan made all this money, I believe, because I haven't seen this yet, I believe this was found in discovery, which is the fun part of lawsuits. If you've heard about it, it's essentially where you get access to all the communications and the text messages. And this is where maybe through some statements or some hiring an expert to figure out the blockchain, you can find out that Logan's wallet was able to take $1.2, $1.3 million and send it to himself. I found this to be a really damning part of this lawsuit. So LP, this is Logan. I'm not familiar with who Ophir is, but basically Logan is asking this guy, do you feel comfortable telling the Discord, the private community of people who bought the NFTs, that I recouped expenses? Remember, his story the whole time is that he lost all this money. He invested a lot of money. He made nothing in return, and it was his co-founders who were the fraudsters. But now he's indicating in this text message that I recouped expenses and the remainder was used for development. This guy's basically saying like, no, don't say that. So I'm 100% against saying you recouped expenses. So the Ophir guy knows the spin control. He's like, no, we cannot say that, because this is what it would sound like to people reading that message. It sounds like Logan recouped his investment and is unscathed. Everyone is down 99%, because guess what? That is what happened.
The most important thing we're doing. Kids are going to care about the blockchain because of my project.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Imagine your first experience on the blockchain is with CryptoZoo.
I feel really bad whenever I clip YouTubers like out of context, but this is the type of clip that just does not age well at all. If kids are going to the blockchain for the first time for CryptoZoo, you can basically kiss that customer goodbye. They're never coming back to NFTs. They're never coming back to crypto or anything on the blockchain. In Logan's own cross-claim filing, he admits that he incurred only about $220,000 in out-of-pocket expenses for the project up to that point. That aligns with the interview clip I just shared with you, a couple $100,000. Seemed to miss the next part, which is the admission makes each payout of approximately $1.3 million indefensible, because this CryptoZoo venture turned out to be Logan Paul's personal cash machine. It was a way for private enrichment.
Our highest 24-hour trading volume was 40 million in USD. So, shout out to everybody that participated. Shout out to the community.
Sounds kind of absurd, doesn't it? $40 million in trading volume right after the project released. There wasn't really a game up into that point, but you got to put yourself in the mind of that time in late 2021 when NFTs, crypto, they were the hot craze. They were all over the news. Everyone had a neighbor that all of a sudden had money. You went on some people's Instagrams and all of a sudden they're flying private and you find out they're in crypto. It's like, oh, everyone's making money. I got to join in. And I think a lot of people got caught up in the FOMO. They joined in trading CryptoZoo token. It wasn't even a thing. There was no project yet, just based on Logan Paul's statements. But clearly I wanted to share that clip because there was a lot of people trading.
Before we sat down for the interview, I don't know if you saw me. I looked at my phone. I was like, what the fuck? The token was at 830 million market cap.
I think this interview was taped right after the release of the token. This was the peak, $600 to $800 million market cap. It sounds absurd to any of you who don't know how this works. Do not relate it at all to a real company worth $800 million. It's not the same at all because the tokenomics, the way it all works. How silly. This might have been the peak. Him going on this interview might have been the absolute peak of the trading volume for his BS token. By mid-September 2021, so this is a few weeks, maybe a full month after the release of the CryptoZoo token, so there was an instant sell of the egg NFTs and the influx of hundreds of millions of dollars in trading volume. I know a lot of you guys hate Logan Paul, but he has real influence. And at this time, he was driving real trading volume to this project. So September 8th, 2021, so this would have been a couple weeks before the release, Paul was shown a test of CryptoZoo's supposed virtual marketplace and told his team it looked confusing, incomplete, and that his first impression was WTF is this. So I want you to keep these dates in mind. September 8th, 2021, Logan's shown this project. This is privately. He's shown this project, and his first impression is like, this is awful. This can't go public. WTF is this? Rather than disclose that the CryptoZoo game was still non-existent, he doubled down with new misrepresentations, and it shares some clips that we'll get to in just a second. September 29th, 2021, so just a couple weeks later, Paul directed a second conversion, creating Zoo Token version 3. Do you guys remember? Just a few minutes ago, there was Zoo Token version 2 because he needed to kick Greenbaum out. Remember, fraudster Greenbaum, bad apple. Bad apple. He's a snake in the grass. This time it was to exclude defendant Ibanez from access to project funds, and even more tellingly, to re-include defendant Greenbaum. What is going on? So he's kicking out, now he's figuring out that Ibanez is maybe the bad actor. It's not Greenbaum. October 13th, 2021, so this is now a couple weeks later, Paul transferred 25 billion Zoo tokens version 3 to Greenbaum's wallet, empowering him to resume offloading tokens on unsuspecting purchasers. Well, just a month prior, Logan's kicking Greenbaum out because he didn't like that he was dumping on the public. He beat Logan to dump his tokens on the public. So that's the fraudster. I mean, according to Logan's story, it is Greenbaum was the fraudster. Okay, you kick him out of the project. Then you kick Ibanez out of the project. So that's kind of aligning with, if you want your story and the narrative to be that these two guys are the fraudsters, then why are you inviting, just a couple weeks later, you're inviting Greenbaum back and you're giving him tokens so that he can dump the tokens on unsuspecting purchasers? That, to me, that negates his entire narrative.
This is one of our hundreds of animal pieces that we've made because, dog, you know how hard it is to combine over 500 fucking animals? You know how much time that takes? 10 artists working for months to make these pieces.
Ironically, now with all of these AI video platforms, he probably could have created this project in about an hour, maybe not an hour, maybe a couple days with what he was trying to do here. But also 10 artists. Earlier we had 25 developers, we had 10 artists. This made it seem like a Fortune 500 company on the way, right? 35 employees. None of this was adding up, by the way. And maybe this is why. Over the following months, Logan and his team made series of half-hearted attempts to hire developers to finish the CryptoZoo game. But what? Just a couple months ago, they had 20 to 25 developers. They retained multiple developers, none of whom were compensated for their work. So what happened to all these hundreds of thousands, $1 million spent on this project? And also keep in mind that at this point, they'd already made some money on the project. When the token went public, we found out that apparently Ibanez and Greenbaum had made millions, according to the complaint, and Logan had possibly made $1 million in profit in excess of what he had spent. Paul refused to authorize completion of the actual CryptoZoo game, complaining that it was too expensive. Instead of taking the $1 million that he had made and reinvesting in this project that he wanted to, it was his legacy play, he was going to have it for years, he was so into it, he decided to not invest in the project. In reality, Paul had no intention of funding development. That's a really damning sentence. He had already extracted his profits and was unwilling to reinvest in a product that might expose the scheme's emptiness. Absolutely unethical what he did. I like to think that what happened is he has so many opportunities. He made his million. He quickly flipped 220,000 into 1.3 million or whatever. And my guess is he realized that this project was going under. It wasn't ever going to be completed what his overall vision was. And by this time, I think this was end of 2022. Crypto NFTs were no longer the hot thing, and he had an opportunity to move on to something else. And unfortunately, that left a lot of victims behind. Insisting that artists were working around the clock and that he was never giving up on multiple occasions throughout 2022, while privately knowing the development had stopped entirely. That to me is so unethical. My ethical and moral line is always the same. It is always, what do you know and what was your behavior when you found out that the thing wasn't going to work out? Based on everything I've read, it seems like Logan was notified. He knew behind the scenes. We've seen when he was given the project, he said, WTF is this? This is crap. This is not ready at all. and he's lying to the public while privately knowing the development had stopped entirely. That to me is where you cross the ethical line. It's not that things can go bad in life. Things always go bad. Projects go wrong. Businesses go bankrupt. That all stuff happens. But what happens when you find out that the project isn't going to work out? Do you double down and lie, or do you actually try to make it right? Do you try to refund the victims? None of that seems to be the case here.
I can't wait for you guys to see the game. It's so much fun. I'm addicted to it. My friends are addicted to it. Every developer is addicted to it. Every other person on the team. We love playing it.
This little clip was included in the complaint right after he found out privately that the game wasn't done. His response was, WTF is this? And then he's going to the group of people who are buying into the project and saying to them that he's addicted to the game. He's lying to them, all of these holders, that the game's basically ready, everyone's addicted to playing it. To me, that crosses the ethical line. This is incredibly unethical for him to do. Fast forward December 20th, 2022, a year later, CoffeeZilla releases his 3-part expose on CryptoZoo. At this time, Paul was not working on CryptoZoo in any capacity. There was no development team, no active project, and no plan to make one. So just a year later, he had abandoned the project. Why? He made $1 million. Weirdly, I think maybe he thought that no one would find out, even though he's one of the most relevant people on social media. He first lashed out at CoffeeZilla, accusing him of misinformation and clout chasing, which is really funny to read in hindsight, before backpedaling under pressure. CryptoZoo was still in development, is what he said. But the problem is, these statements were false. That is a lie. Here's why it matters. This Excel sheet we're looking at is the trading volume. So right here on the left-hand side, this was end of 2022 when the CoffeeZilla series was released. Many of the days, the trading volume was under $100. This is very minimal trading. The project was essentially dead. When CoffeeZilla released the video, the project appeared dead. But don't worry, Logan Paul said that he's still working on it. And most importantly, he said he's going to complete the game at this time. That was his response. Don't worry, the game's still in development. We're going to complete it. Because of that, look at the trading volume on this side. Starting in 2023, we're talking $1 million a day, many 6 figures. A couple days hit over 1 million. Even this day hit over 2 million. So very clearly, the market was responding to Logan Paul saying the game would be completed, despite that being a complete lie.
Right? Like, I just know that I love it.
Yeah.
My developers and my team love it. Who loves it most? The kids. Their kids love it.
Lying right to the interviewer. This is such a bad clip in hindsight. I think this interview was ended 2021. 4 years later, it aged poorly. Let's take a couple comments from the first video. But he literally gave everyone a buyback option, gave people an opportunity to get their investment back. If you didn't take advantage of that opportunity, then I don't know what to tell you. I generally agree. If you've been scammed and you have an opportunity to recoup your investment, sure, you lose the time and energy. It's an unfortunate situation, but you get your full investment back. Unfortunately, that is not the case here. Logan Paul's buyback program offered a flat exchange of 0.1 Ethereum for each CryptoZoo NFT returned. The reality was that Ethereum was down 50% since the initial sale. So the problem is that people would still be down 50% of their investment. They were scammed. They should be back paid in full. And now that we're finding out that Logan might have profited $1 million. The story was all along was that he was out so much money. It was so nice of him that he was, in addition to spending all this money to try and build up the project, he was defrauded. He was then going to spend money out of pocket to repay the victims. But now we're finding out that he may have profited $1 million. He should have refunded everyone in full. I'm seeing this comment all the time. Crime is legal. I hate to break it to you, but no, crime is not legal. Nothing has changed about our society. Logan Paul is just as vulnerable. It's BS. He just has the money to get out of trouble. No, you're not paying the judge. There's no way to pay the judge. I know you guys have watched all the movies and think the mob still exists about paying judges off. No, that's not the case. The judge allowed the plaintiffs to refile, and I think the plaintiffs are just as confident that they're going to win this case now as they did before.
Pretty significant for me, just because I've been on this pursuit to try to clear my name and unwind years of this fake scammer reputational damage narrative that got spun up. And so this is like a good first step in that. And I have to say, like, I was pretty excited when I first found out.
Putting myself in Logan's shoes, I totally understand why he feels this way. If you feel like you were wronged, the co-founders were the ones defrauding you, and you log into YouTube and thousands of YouTubers have made videos, ugly videos on you saying your career's over and you scammer this, scammer that. I understand that would not be fun. What I don't understand about this clip is that Logan is clearly showing that he cares about his reputation. He cares that others have called him a scammer and people make videos on him. This is a man standing in a new $32.5 million house amongst his other real estate investments. He for sure has multiple 9 figures net worth because of Prime, his equity stake in Prime. He absolutely has 50 million plus in liquid investments if we're counting real estate. And so this is a man that has significant amount of money. He obviously cares about his reputation. What I don't understand is that if you go back 3 years ago, he could have paid like $1 million, which we're led to believe, based on this filing, we're led to believe that he profited off CryptoZoo. So if we go back 3 years, he probably could have teamed up with CoffeeZilla as part of his reclamation from the forest incident, end of 2017. He could have been a part of that whole rebrand. He could have come out and said, you know what, I messed up on this. I thought we were going to be done. Some things happened. You know what? I'm going to sink money into this. I'm going to make sure everyone's made whole. Not only that, I'm going to make sure everyone profits a little bit off of this. He could have paid, I don't know what the total amount would have been. Maybe $1 million, maybe $2 million. I don't know that number. If it was 10 million, maybe that changes things, but like probably $1 million, or at the very least the $1 million he profited. He could have looked like the good guy. Clearly it matters to him. That's what I don't understand. And if you look at Logan Paul's life, he's very successful. He is the top of the food chain in terms of outlier success. This clearly has weight on him. I don't understand. He can be so smart in some ways, but yet I don't understand. 3 years ago, he could have paid $1 million and had this weight off of his shoulders. He's talking about this video. He found out at his wedding that he won, and he made a whole video describing the victory and how he felt with this lawsuit. It clearly has weight on him. And he's going to spend $1 million in litigation fees on his side. The money side made more sense just from purely financial. It would have made more sense strategically to pay off the victims 3 years ago. From an emotional perspective, it would have made more sense to pay off the victims 3 years ago. From a reputation perspective, it would have made more sense to pay. What I'm getting at is none of his actions line up. And it was interesting watching this to see how much it affected him, because he could have solved all this 3 years ago. I'm a huge sports fan, and I've been listening to Bill Simmons' podcast since about 2009. So in honor of him bringing back the mailbag, you'll see where I'm going with this if you're a fan of him. What the F are you doing? Why are you making videos about this? Wasn't you told to mind your effing business? I mean, seriously now, if you get your wig split open, what are you going to do besides cry and call the police? Logan, contact me. We'll talk some prices, and you won't have to worry about this dude making videos about you anymore. He'll get the hint. I'll skip him. I'll go right to his mother. I'll have this dude delete this whole YouTube account. Yep, those are my commenters. Thanks so much for watching.